Yes, so good afternoon to everyone. Myself, Sangeeta Kansal from Department of Applied Mathematics, Delhi Technological University, Delhi. So today I'm going to give a talk on signed Petrinet and its application. So before going into the signed Petrinet, I'll brief about Petrinet, and then only you can understand the concept of signed Petrinet. So first of all, I inform you that due to some network repairing in my society where I live, there's some network repair is going on. So if I get disconnected, then please wait for a minute. I'll again join. Okay. So I'll continue with my talk. See, in many fields where a phenomena cannot study directly or indirectly through a model of the phenomena. What is a model? Model is a representation, often in mathematical terms. And it is hoped that the new knowledge about the model phenomena can be obtained without inconvenience of manipulating the real phenomena itself, right? For example, models of birth, death, and interaction of stars allow studying theory which take long time and massive energy. See, in nuclear physics, where the radioactive substance under study occur for a very short period of time. In sociology, where the direct interaction of group of people may cause ethical problems, and so on. So in these type of situation, we study the system by using modeling. And the one modeling tool is Petrinet, which is a discrete dynamical system. So before going into the signed Petrinet, I'll give a brief about the Petrinet and its application. So what is a Petrinet? It was first introduced by Carl Adam Petri when he was age of 13 and he was studying chemical reactions. And the formal definition came into existence in 1962 in Petri's dissertation. He introduced the formal definition, and the definition is as follows. So Petrinet is a 5-tuple PTI minus I plus and mu naught, where P is the finite non-empty set of places, T is the finite non-empty set of transitions, P intersection T is phi, that means these two sets are disjoint, I minus and I plus, they are the function from P cross T to the set of non-negative integers. They are called negative and positive incidence functions respectively. And these functions satisfy these two conditions. For every place, there exists a transition such that I minus Pt is non-zero or I plus Pt is non-zero. And for every transition T, there exists a place P such that I minus Pt is non-zero or I plus Pt is non-zero. It means corresponding to every place, there is a transition such that either I minus Pt is non-zero or I plus Pt is non-zero. Similarly, for every transition, there exists a place. And what is mu naught? Mu naught is a function from the set of place to the non-negative integers, and it is called initial marking. So if you see, mu naught is a function from P to the set of natural numbers. That means mu naught of some P, small p belongs to capital P. It will be a natural number. Suppose it is 3. That means it is called the token in that particular place, right? So mu naught initial marking is with respect to the token in a particular place. I'll see later on. See, this is one example. So here, just wait. So first I tell you that this is the formal definition of Petrinet, and Petrinet can be represented graphically also. So these are the elements of graphical representation of Petri net, where boxes are transitions, circles are places, and the marking, where marking, see, if you see mu naught is a function from P to N, means set of non-negative integers. So if mu of some place small p is, say, suppose 3, that means we represent that place with 3 tokens. Okay. And arrow represents the directed arc. Arrow means these are nothing but I minus or I plus. In general, I minus PT represents the number of arcs, directed arcs from a place to a transition, and I plus PT represents the number of arcs from transition to place. So I minus PT is the number of arcs from place to transition, and I plus PT is the number of arcs from transition to place. So these are the elements of graphical representation, and graphically we can represent a Petri net like this. So here we have 3 places, because places are represented as circles and transition as boxes. So we have 3 places here, P1, P2 and P3, and two transitions, T1 and T2, right? And these 2 sets are disjoint. And what about I minus PT and I plus PT? Because I minus PT represents the number of arc from a place to a transition. So for example, this is your place. You have a directed arc from P1 to T1. That means I minus P1 T1 is 1 by chance in this case. It may be 2 or more than 2. Okay. Then we have another directed arc from a place P1 to T2. That means I minus P1 T2 is also 1. Now, if you see directed arc from the transition T2 to place P2, and I plus represents the number of arcs from transition to place. So in this particular example, I plus P2 T2 is 1. I plus P2 T2 means number of arcs from T2 to P2, which is 1. Similarly, here also we have an arc from T1 to place P3. So I plus P3 T1 is 1. Now if you, so these about I minus and I plus, and then one component left, which is mu naught. That was initial marking. So initially we have a token in the place P1, and P2 and P3 received no token. So initial marking, that means mu naught of P1 is 1, mu naught of P2 is 0, and mu naught of P3 is 0. So this is your Petri net. Now if you see graphically, this represents a graph. Graph means you have set of vertices and set of edges, or directed arc. In fact, here you have a directed arc. So we have set of vertices and set of directed arcs. So how many vertices are here? We have 5 vertices in total, 3 place vertices and 2 transition vertices. So this set of vertices, which is P union T, is divided into 2 disjoint subsets. One is your place set, another is your transition set, such that no 2 vertices in the same set are adjacent to each other. If adjacency is there, then it is across the set. No 2 places are adjacent to each other. No 2 transitions are adjacent to each other. Means adjacency is across the set, not within the set. What does it mean? It means it represents a bipartite graph, if you remember the definition of bipartite graph. So the vertex set is divided into 2 disjoint subsets, such that 2 vertices in the same set are not adjacent. Adjacency is across the set. That means Petri net is a bipartite directed graph. So the set of vertices VP union T in a Petri net is divided into 2 disjoint subsets, such that an edge join vertices of one subset to another and not the vertices of the same subset. Thus, a Petri net nothing but a bipartite digraph. Digraph means directed graph. Okay. So this is about the basic definition of Petri net. Now, in general, see, you have seen the initial marking as function from P to N. This is initial distribution of token in the places. Now, the arbitrary distribution of token in the place is called marking. That means a marking, whether it is an initial marking or general distribution, arbitrary distribution. So a marking in a Petri net thus can be represented as a vector of length n, where n is the number of places. Because mu p1, mu q2, if you have n places, then you have mu p1, say it is 1. Mu p2, say it is 3. Mu p3 is some natural number and so on. So the vector mu will be, which is a marking, it will be 1, 3, suppose mu p3 is 0, 0, and so on. So it is 1 cross n matrix or vector of length n, where mu pi is the number of token in the place pi, right? Now, see, this is the structure of the Petri net. This is the structure of the Petri net. But I am saying it's a discrete tool for, this is nothing but discrete dynamical system. So from where the dynamics comes into the picture? Dynamics comes into the picture by execution rules for Petri net. See, so a transition, any transition, or you can say event can occur, right? So any event can occur means execution rule. So a transition T in a Petri net is enabled at a particular marking. Now, see, what is your marking? Marking means the number of token in a particular place. And the token gives us the information about that particular place, right? So a transition T in a Petri net is enabled at a marking mu if I minus Pt is less than or equal to mu of P for all P in P. What is this? I minus Pt, suppose you want to check whether T transition, a particular transition T is enabled or not. So how to find this? Pt, I minus Pt means the number of arcs from P to that particular transition T. So if the number of arcs from P to T is less than or equal to the number of token in that particular place, and this holds for all places, then this particular transition T is enabled. Now here we are talking about the arc from P to T. That means P is an input place to T, not the output place. P is an input place to T, right? So we want input places only. So instead of checking for all the places, we only check for input places. This condition only for input places, because we are interested only for the number of arcs from P to T. So check only for input places to T. So if number of arcs from P to T is less than or equal to the number of token in that particular place, then the transition T is enabled. And if T is enabled, then it may fire at the marking mu, which yields a new marking mu1. This is called firing rule. And by firing rule, by this rule, we get the number of token in each place after firing of the transition. And this rule says that the new marking is governed by this rule. That is the number of, now, if you revise the number of token in the place P, this is nothing but the old number of token in a place. Then I'm talking about this particular transition with respect to this enabled transition I'm talking about. So the old token minus the number of arc from P to T plus the number of arc from T to P, right? So this will give you the new number of token in a particular place. This is called firing rule. So enabling and firing, these two are the different things. Enable transition may or may not fire. For example, if I say, if you take the ATM machine, everybody is familiar with ATM machine. We are using the ATM machines. So if you want to withdraw the money from the ATM, then what to do? You go and insert your card. That means machine is enabled now. Machine is enabled. Okay. But you won't get money unless you insert your PIN. That means after inserting your PIN, machine fires and you receive the money. So this is the difference between enabling and firing rule. Enable transition may or may not fire. So from here, because now here we If T fires at a particular marking, we get a new marking. That means new information about all these places. So from here, dynamics comes into the picture. Now, if mu T fires at this marking mu and it reaches to the marking mu1, then we say that mu1 is directly reachable from mu. And if you have a sequence of transitions, say T1, T2, Tk, and suppose you start with the marking mu, T1 fires at mu, it yields a next marking mu1. At mu1, T2 fires, you find mu2. At mu2, T3 fires, you get mu3, and so on. Tk fires, you get mu k. Sorry, it should be mu k, not mu1. So mu k. It means from starting with the marking mu, after sequence of firing of this sequence of transition T1, T2, Tk, you get the marking mu k. That means mu k is reachable from mu, not directly, but indirectly. Okay, so this is the reachability concept in PetriNet. So let us see how a real life situation can be modeled by PetriNet. So I'll give one example. So it will be clear to you that how to use a PetriNet to model a system. So suppose we are talk about change of season. Everybody is familiar with change of season, and we have 4 seasons: spring, summer, autumn, and winter. And transition phases: start of summer, start of autumn, start of winter, and start of spring. Now you see, suppose spring season is going on, and now we know that token gives the information about that particular place. And because we are doing modeling, which is a representation in mathematical terms, so we can represent this. If spring season is going on, we put a token in this spring season. Gives the information about this place, this season, that the spring season is going on, right? Now, if you see, start of summer, this is one transition, right? This transition is enabled. Why? Because the number of arcs from, see, this start of summer, this transition has only one input place, which is your spring, and number of arc from P to T, means spring season, to this transition is 1, which is equal to the number of token in that spring season, which is again 1. So I minus Pt is less than or equal to mu of P. This condition is satisfied for this transition start of summer. And because no other places are the input places, so no need to check for other 3 places, right? So start of summer is enabled. Then it fires. If it after firing, by using firing rule, token moves from spring season to summer season, right? I'm not putting the token arbitrary, but by using firing rule, because firing rule says that suppose you want to find the token in spring season after firing of the start of summer transition, then it is old token, which was 1. Number of arcs from P to T, 1. So 1 minus 1 is 0. Plus number of arcs from T to P is again 0. So it will receive 0 token. What about the summer place? Old token, old condition was no token in summer season. So it is 0. Minus I minus PT, means this place P is your summer. So no arc from P to T. So it is 0. So 0 minus 0 plus T to P is 1 arc. So it will be 1. So it will receive 1 token, right? And because these 2 places, autumn and winter, they are not anyway connected to this transition start of summer, so they remain as it is, right? Now again, by enabling rule, start of autumn is enabled, and after firing, token moves from this season to autumn season. And everybody knows that after summer we receive autumn. Then next, start of winter is enabled by enabling rule, and by firing we get a token in winter season. and then start of spring is enabled by the same logic, and when it fires, token moves from winter season to spring season, and everybody knows that after winter we receive spring season. So this is how the season changes. So we can model the change of season using PetriNet. We'll give more examples. Okay, so this is one example. And now, what is the reachability set of a PetriNet? Reachability set of a PetriNet is denoted by R, n mu, where n is the PetriNet, and mu is the marking. This is the set of all markings of n reachable from mu. I'm not saying the directly reachable, but the reachable from mu. That means if there exists a sequence of transition which when it fires at mu, then you get new markings, say mu k. So all those markings in between, they belong to the set of markings reachable from mu. For example, if you take this PetriNet, see the initial marking is now P1 has one token, P2 and P3 no token. So initial marking is 1, 0, 0. Now, if you see T1 and T2 both are enabled because the input place is P1 only for T1 as well as for T2 also. And so T1 and T2, and this satisfy I minus Pt is less than or equal to mu of P, because number of arc is 1 in both the cases and number of token in P1 is 1. So enabling condition is satisfied. And after firing, if suppose T1 fires, what will happen? P3 will receive one token. I'm not saying again arbitrary. It is by firing rule you apply. You can find out by applying the firing rule. P3 will receive one token, and because T1 is not connected to P2, so P2 remains same, and P1 will get 0 token. So you get the marking 0, 0, 1. Similarly, for T2, you get 0, 1, 0. And after that, see, when T1 fires, P3 receive one token, and after that, no transition is enabled, right? Because T1 and T2, they are enabled only when the input place receive one token, at least one token, right? So this is not the case. Means now they are not enabled. Similarly, if T2 fires, again, T1 and T2, they are not enabled. So ultimately, these three markings will be there in the set of reachability set of this particular PetriNet. Now, this is the reachability tree. Reachability tree represents the reachability set of a given PetriNet. Suppose you have this PetriNet. So initial marking is what? P1 has one token, P2, P3 no token. So it will be 1, 0, 0. Now, if you see the enabling rule, T1 and T2 both are enabled because both are having an input place P1, which has one token, at least one token is there, and number of arcs from P2 T2 and P2 T1 is also 1. So T1 and T2 both are enabled. So after firing of T1, apply firing rule, you get 1, 1, 0. If T2 fires, you get 0, 1, 1. And similarly, you continue. So this is your reachability tree. Okay. So from this reachability tree, you can find the reachability set of the PetriNet. Set consisting of these markings. Okay. Now, so this is the firing. Now, behavior properties of PetriNet. This was the basics about PetriNet. Then the behavior properties. They are, one property is boundedness. Second is safeness. Third is conservation. Fourth is liveness. What do you mean by boundedness? So place in a PetriNet is k bounded if for all mu belongs to the reachability set of mu naught, mu of pi is less than or equal to k. That means at any stage, place pi cannot receive more than k tokens. That means that particular place is k bounded. And if all the places in a PetriNet are k bounded, then PetriNet is called k bounded. Okay. And if k is equal to 1, that means place cannot have more than one token, then it is called a safe PetriNet. You have seen one example of change of season where every place has at most one token. So that is your safe Petri net. Conservation means start with the initial marking and mu naught pi summation means you sum the number of token in each place, and it should be equal to the summation of mu pi for all mu. Any marking which is reachable from mu naught, mu of pi summation is equal to the summation of mu naught pi. Okay, this is conservation. Then liveness. This property is very important in Petri net because it provides information about the working of a given Petri net, whether the given system will work smoothly or will enter a deadlock. So a transition is called a dead transition if it can never be fired. And transition is a live transition if for each mu belongs to Rn mu naught, there exists a firing sequence in which TJ is enabled. Means at least once TJ should fire, enabled, right? Then the system is live. So if you see again, go back to the change of season example, the system is live. Okay, means at least one transition, means every transition is enabled at least once. So system is live, and you know the change of season is live. Now, there are some analysis techniques, and there are two analysis techniques. One is reachability tree technique and the matrix equation technique. So how we use the reachability tree? The behavior property of Petri net can be analyzed using its reachability tree as boundedness. Boundedness कैसे करेंगे आप? By observing the values at components of the marking in the reachability tree, right? If boundedness means mu of pi is less than or equal to k for every place. So reachability tree is given. That means marking is given. You are seeing the each and every component of the marking, right? If component is less than or equal to some value, it means the system is bounded. Then conservation. By observing the sum of components of the marking in the reachability tree, okay? For any component, sum all the components. If it is fixed throughout the reachability tree, then the system is conserved. Liveness. A Petri net is live if all the transitions occur in reachability tree. Okay, if there is at least one transition which does not occur in the reachability tree, means system is dead. It is not live. So in the real world, events happen at the same time, or a system may have many global states, or there is a need to model concurrency, decision making, priorities, and synchronization. Okay, so I'll talk about these things. So first is sequential execution. What is sequential execution? I'll give one example. Say, this is a Petri net. Initial marking is 1, 0, 0, 0 because we have 4 places. Only P1 receive 1 token. And this is sequential modeling. Why? Because only this transition E1 is enabled because its input place, which is P1, receive 1 token and work R from P1 to E1. So only E1 is enabled, not E2 and E3. So E1 is enabled and it can fire. After firing, token moves from P1 to P2. Then because of enabling rule, E2 is enabled, and after firing of E2, token moves from P2 to P3. Then E3 is enabled and token moves from P3 to P4. So this is sequential. Okay, if E1 is enabled, then you cannot say that the next step E3 is enabled. No, sequence. This is sequential execution. The next is conflict situation. What is the conflict now here? See, this is the conflict situation. For example, P4 receive 1 token, and here we have 3 transitions. T1, sorry, not T1. It is E1, E2, E3. So these are the 3 events you can say, or transitions you can say. So because P4 is an input placed to all these three transitions, E1, E2, E3. That means E1 is enabled, E2 is enabled, as well as E3 is also enabled. So the situation is whether E1 fires. If E1 fires, then what is the situation? This is the situation. If E1 fires, token moves from P4 place to P1 place, and then after that E2 and E3, they will not be enabled. They're disabled, right? So this is conflict situation, whether we want E1 to be fired or E2 or E3. So it depends upon our system, our modeling, what you want actually. You want E1 to fire or E2 or E3, but it is a conflict situation. Next situation is concurrency. See, this is the situation of concurrency. Here, P4 has a token, so this event or transition E1 is enabled. And when E1 fires, by firing rule, P1, P2, P3 all will receive 1 token. By using firing rule, I am not putting the token arbitrarily. Okay, you can do the calculation. Now, see, P1 is an input placed to E2, P2 is an input placed to E3, P3 is an input placed to E4, right? So all these three transitions are enabled. No conflict, no sequential execution, all are enabled and can fire independently. So this is concurrency situation. Concurrently, E2, E3, E4 can fire. This is concurrency. Right? And the next is synchronization. This is the situation of synchronization. Here we have four transitions and 4 places, and P1, P2, P3, all these 3 places receive 1 token. And because all these 3 places are the input place to E4, okay, then E4 is enabled. Suppose P1 has no token, then only P2 and P3 have token. Then E4 is not enabled because we have to check for all the input place to E4. And if P1 is not receiving any token, it means E4 is not enabled. So this is synchronization situation where these all the input places to this event or this transition receive one token. So E4 is enabled and can fire, and after firing, token moves from these places to P4 place. So this is the situation of what you call synchronization. Okay. So in modeling a system using Petrinet, we represent condition of the system as places, and events that occur, they are the transition. Now, I'll give more applications of Petrinet. See, Carl Adam Petri introduced Petrinet when he was studying chemical reaction, right? So, see, here we have 3 reactions. C plus O2 gives you CO2. CO2 plus NaOH gives you NaSCO3. NaSCO3 plus HCl gives you H2, NaCl, and CO2. We all know about these reactions. Now, how to model these using Petrinet? So what actually we have, these are the places, CO2, CO2, NaOH, and so on. These are the places of the Petrinet. And reaction we denote by the transitions, bars, okay? So C and O2, when C combines with O2, gives you CO2. So C with O2 and combining means this transition. So we have an arc from C to this transition and O2 to this transition, and we get CO2. So we get CO2. Then CO2 combines with NaOH through this reaction, this transition, gives you NaSCO3, and then NaSCO3 with HCl combined with this third transition gives you H2O, NaCl, and CO2. So these are the component, okay? We have set of places, we have 3 transitions, we have I minus and I plus, okay? What about the initial marking? Unless you have an initial marking, you cannot proceed further. right? So what about the initial marking? So in these reactions, initially what we want, see, initially we don't want CO2 because we get CO2 when we combine the carbon and O2. When we combine C and O2, we get CO2. So initially we want C and O2. Okay, now we have CO2 after combining C and O2, but we want NaOH also initially. Then only after combining, after reaction of NaOH and CO2 gives NaSCO3. So we need NaOH also initially. Then once we have NaSCO3, we have HCl also initially. Then combining with NaSCO3 gives you H2O, NaCl and CO2, right? So what we want initially means initial marking. So this is your initial marking because initially we want C, we want O2, we want NaOH, we want HCl, right? So this is the initial marking. Okay, if you say this is first place, second place, third place, and so on, so you can write accordingly 1, 1, 1, 0, 1, 0, 0, 0. So this is initial mark. Now if you see, C and O2 receive one token. So obviously this transition, which is this reaction, will take place. No other reaction will take place. See, for the second transition, if you see, the place CO2 is not having any what you call token. So this input place to the second transition is empty. So second transition cannot fire, is not enabled. Similarly, because NaSCO3 has no token in this place, so the third transition is not enabled. Only transition which is enabled is the first one. Okay, C and O2. So when C and O2 combines, means reaction take place, means this first transition fires, the token by using firing rule goes to CO2. No token in C and no token in O2. Right? So now if you see the second one, second transition is enabled now because CO2 has a token, NaOH has a token. So this transition is enabled by using enabling rule and it can fire. And after firing, token goes to NaSCO3. Now NaSCO3 and HCl, when react to each other, then this third transition is enabled, and after firing, token moves from these two to H2O, NaCl, and CO2 also, because CO2 is also an output place to this third transition, right? Remember, I'm saying that these token, putting these token in the place is not arbitrary. It is governed by the firing rule. You can do the calculation. So this is how we model chemical reaction using Petri. Again, one application, one puzzle, which is, I think, well-known puzzle. So a man is traveling with a wolf, a goat, and a cabbage. They need to cross a river. The available boat can carry the man and at most one other object. If the man is not around, the wolf may eat the goat and the goat may eat the cabbage. Can the man bring everyone across the river without endangering the goat or the cabbage? This is our puzzle. You know how to solve it. Let us model through PetriNet. So we have places, 4 places, man, wolf, goat, and cabbage. Okay. And MGLR, it means man and goat from left to right. MCRL means man and cabbage from right to left, and so on. Okay. So what we want. This is our PetriNet structure, right? We want, in between we have a river, and left side we have these 4, man, wolf, goat, and cabbage. And we want that all these 4 to be on the right side of the river. That we want here, man, wolf, goat, and cabbage. But initially they are on the left side of the river. That means 1 token in each the place, man, wolf, goat, and Now if you see, what is this? So this is your initial marking, which is 1, 1, 1, 1, right? Now if you see MGLR, this transition is enabled. Okay, so after firing, token moves from here, remove from the two places man and goat, and they'll be on the right side. Then the next step is this man will go to the left side and take the goat with him, that is MGLR. There is MGLR, sorry, MCLR, right? MCLR, because this transition is enabled, because here we have one token and here we have token. So the token moves from, by using firing rule, from these two places to here. And then the man will bring the goat from right to left. So that particular transition will be enabled and goat is now on the right left side. And then he'll bring wolf from left to right. So wolf MWLR is enabled and token from left side to right side. And then after that, man from right to left, that is this transition is enabled and man is on the left side. Then he will bring the goat with him and everybody is now on the right side. So this is how we model a puzzle also. So I've seen many applications of modeling through Petrinet. Okay, this is another example, and so many examples are there of vending machine also. If you want these examples, I can give you to the presentation. Now, come to the sign Petrinet. See, in the field of graph theory, Harari introduced a signed graph. Okay, and many results on signed graph have been given by many mathematicians, many researchers. All these motivated us to combine Petrinet and sign graph and introduce the concept of sign graph. Myself and my research scholar working on this sign graph and introduced it sign graph by using the sign Petrinet, by using the sign graph and Petrinet. So I'll define first sign Petrinet. So sign Petrinet is suppose n is a Petrinet. You know what is Petrinet now, and the H set of a Petrinet is defined like this. H set means arc from P to T or arc from T to P. So there is an arc from P to T provided I minus Pt is greater than 0. It is non-zero, because if it is if it is 0, that means there is no arc from P to T. So there is an arc, Pt arc is there provided I minus Pt is greater than 0. So this is P to T arc, and similarly T to P means I plus Pt is greater than 0. So this is your H set. Okay, nothing special about it. Now an SPN is defined as a 3-tuple n dash, sigma and mu naught, where n dash is a Petrinet Pti minus I plus. I'm not talking about mu naught. Without marking, Petrinet is called this is called Petrinet structure, because if mu naught is not there, means dynamics will not be there in the Petrinet. This is called structure only, right? So we have a Petrinet structure. N dash is a Petrinet structure, means Petrinet without initial marking. Now what is sigma? Sigma is a function from the H set to the set consists of two signs plus and minus. So if sigma of some edge is positive, that means you are assigning sign to each edge, whether it is positive or it is negative. Now what is the marking, initial marking in sign Petrinet? Because we have two types of edges here, we are assigning sign to each edge, whether either positive or negative. So we have marking as positive marking and negative marking. Mu naught plus and mu naught gives the initial distribution of positive and negative tokens in the place. We have two types of tokens also here. right? Initially. And similarly, an arbitrary distribution of positive and negative token, they are called the marking, and they are the function from P to N. You know all these things. This is the graphical representation of SPN. SPN means sign patronate. See, this is a patronate. So it has 4 places and 3 transitions. Now the positive and negative arcs in SPN are represented by solid and dotted line. Solid line means positive arc and dotted line means negative arc. Positive token is represented by filled circle like in P1, and negative token by an open circle like in P2. This small token is an open circle, so it is negative token. And what is the initial marking? You write initial marking like this, pairwise, ordered pairwise. First will give you the positive distribution of token. Second will give you the negative tokens, distribution of negative token. So the positive token, if you see, P1 receive 1 positive token and all other places receive no positive token. So the positive marking will be 1, 0, 0, 0. Now come to the negative marking. P1 has no negative token. P3, P4, no negative token. Only P2 has 1 negative token. So at second place, you have 1. All other places will be 0. So this is one example of what you call it, sign patronate. Yes. Here also, we'll talk about the dynamics. Otherwise, we are just dealing with the structure. So dynamics means enabling and firing loop. So transition in SPN is enabled at some marking mu. Okay, here we have positive marking as well as negative marking. So the number of arc from P to T, it should be less than or equal to the number of positive token if the sign of this arc P to T is positive. And number of negative, arc from negative arc from P to T, it should be less than or equal to the number of negative token in that place. Then the transition T is enabled. And if T is enabled, then it may fire. And what is the firing condition? An enabled transition T may fire at a marking provided these conditions are satisfied. Means first thing, there should be an output placed to T. Suppose it is PK. Then what talk about the sign of that arc T PK, because PK is an output placed to T. So we'll talk about the sign also. So if T is enabled and every input placed to T is of positive sign, then T of PK should be positive. If every input placed to T is of negative sign, right, this arc is negative in sign, then the arc T to PK should be negative. And if some positive arc and some negative arc from the input places to T, then you may assign plus or minus, doesn't matter. Okay. So, so enable transition may fire at provided this condition satisfied. And after firing, the same logic. Positive token mu1p will be positive token previously, then arc from P to T, arc from T to P. Okay, where the arc sign is positive in both the cases. For negative token, previous negative token minus negative arc from P to T, negative arc from T to P. That means the movement of positive token is restricted to positive arcs only and negative tokens restricted to negative arcs, right? Now, the structural behavior of SPN. If you have a sign patronate and star, then the underlying graph is the sign patronate where direction of the arcs have been removed. Okay, only the graph. And complete SPN means, as you know, this is a bipartite graphs, you know, complete bipartite graph. The same situation here also. So complete SPN is a sign patronate where every place transition pair is connected by a bidirectional arc, whether positive. It is place transition pair because no two places are adjacent to each other, and no two transitions are adjacent to each other. This is bipartite. So this is just like complete bipartite definition. Now, this is the new concept we have given in sign Petrinet, the assignment of sign to vertices of SPN. It was not there in Petrinet. Okay, and because of this, we have advantages of sign Petrinet over the Petrinet. Let us see. The transitions are assigned sign by product of sign of arcs, whether incoming or outgoing incident on it. Okay. Then places can be assigned sign in one of the two ways. One, with respect to the arcs, that is same as transition, by taking product of incident arc, incoming or outgoing on that place, and with respect to the marking also, by taking product of sign of tokens in that place in the given marking. Okay. Maybe a place has positive token and some negative token. Find out the product. Suppose it has 2 positive token and 3 negative token, then product will be 2 positive and 3 negative will be negative. So that place will receive the negative sign. Okay. And a place without token is considered to be positive. Right. So throughout this, we will consider the sign of a place with respect to marking only, because this is the important thing, which is the because of this the dynamics comes into the picture. With respect to arcs, if we consider with respect to arcs, then this is nothing different from the graph theory. Okay, sign graph. But with respect to marking, when we talk about the sign with respect to marking, then dynamics comes into the picture. So we'll consider the sign of places with respect to marking only. Now, sign of path. So path and cycle the same, because this underlying structure is a graph. So a path in an SPN is the path in its underlying graph. Similarly for cycle also, and the sign of the path is defined as the product of sign of arcs on the path. And the sign of the cycle is defined as the product of sign of arcs on the cycle. If this product is positive, cycle is positive, otherwise negative. And in the same way, we can define the reachability set also, means the set of all markings reachable from mu, right? And reachability tree also we can represent, and this represents the reachability set of the given SPN. See, this is your SPN. Initial marking mu naught is mu naught plus is this, mu naught minus is this, 0, 1, 0, 0. Now, this is the reachability tree of this corresponding mu naught, right? Here T1 fires, here T2 fires, and so on. You complete this reachability tree. So here also we get the reachability tree. Now we have introduced this concept balanced sign graph. Balanced sign Petrinet. An SPN is said to be balanced if all of its cycle are positive in the underlying graph. An SPN without cycle in its underlying graph is balanced. And this is one theorem. Okay, so a partition of the set of vertices in an SPN and star into two disjoint subsets V1 and V2, one of which may be empty, such that all the arcs between vertices of the same set are positive and all arcs in the different subsets are negative, is possible in the following cases. Okay, and if you want the proof of the theorem, then I can provide you after the talk. I can provide you, because there's a long proof, no need to present here. If someone is interested, then he or she can take it from me. And this is the observation with respect to the previous theorem. And then we have one corollary, that SPN is negative if and only if such a partition of set of vertices is a bipartite partition. And another theorem is this: a complete SPN is balanced if and only if its vertex set can be partitioned into two disjoint subsets V1 and V2, one of which may be empty, such that all the arcs between vertices of the same subset are positive and all arcs between vertices of the different subset are negative. These are the theorems. Okay. Now we'll come to the interesting part, which is the application of sign patronage. Okay, let us see. Suppose we have a message transmission system. Okay, so when you say two parties, suppose two parties need to communicate securely, that is, they don't want a third party to listen in, right? They require a channel for secure communication, right? And secure communication is a way to transfer message from source to receiver so that it is not susceptible to interception. Am I right? Okay. So we use the concept of sign patronage, which is introduced here to model a message transmission system which is secure. Right? So what to do here? Consider a message which need to be transferred from source to a destination securely. Okay, P1 here is a source and P6 is your destination, right? So in order to make the transition secure, we provide, we divide our message into two parts. First half of the message is represented by positive token in P1 because P1 is a source place. Here we have a message. So divide the message into two parts. First half is denoted by the positive token and the other half is denoted by the negative token. Okay. And the places P1 and P6 are source and destination for the message respectively. Right. Now, all the other places, that is P2, P3, P4, P5, they all are buffer for message. That is, which hold message until it is ready to be transmitted, right? By firing off corresponding transition, obviously. So, now the transitions are events which transfer message from one place to another place. Okay, so let us see. Now, see in this figure, message is divided into two at place P1, which is the source of the message. The positive token means first half of the message and the negative token means the second half of the message. Now, first half of the message, which is positive token, enables the transition T1. See, number of positive arcs from P1 to T1 should be less than or equal to the number of positive token in this place, which is 1. Arc is also 1, positive token is 1, so T1 is enabled. And similarly, the negative token, which is the other half of the message, enables the transition, this T2, because the number of negative arc from P1 to T1 is 1, and the number of negative token in P1 is 1. So I minus PT is less than or equal to mu P is satisfied, right? Now, when the transitions T1 and T2 fire, the message the message transmission begins, and the positive, as you know, the positive token moves along the positive arcs and negative token moves along the negative arcs. So the positive token moves on the path, see T1, P4, T4, P5, T6 and up to P6, right? And similarly, the negative token moves on the path T2, P2, T3, P3, T5 and finally reaches to P6. So these two parts of the message can then be combined to give the complete message at this place P6. So in this way, the message is transmitted from source to the destination securely, right? So the division of message in two parts and transfer of the two parts via you call the different path, one is positive path and one is negative path, reduces the chance of leakage of the message, right? Now you can extend this also. See the second situation. Now here the message transmission system with message divided into four parts. See this situation. Here we can extend the previous model. The places and transition have their usual meaning, right? As in the previous model. See, except for this transition, see where I have, yeah, T1 and T8. Okay, which represent a process of dividing the incoming message into two, right? All other transitions have usual meaning, only except these two, T1 and T2. Because at T1, message breaks into two parts. At T2 also, message breaks into two parts. So T1 and T8 represent a process of dividing the incoming message, the incoming message from P1, right? So they represent a process of dividing the incoming message into two parts. Now you see this figure 8. A message is divided into two at the place P1. First half of the message is denoted by the dark circle and positive token, and the second with the this negative token, right? Now the positive token, which is first half of the message, enables the transition T8 because positive token moves on the positive path. So T8 is enabled. And the negative token, that is the second half of the message, enables the transition T1 because negative token moves on the negative path. And obviously T1 and T2 both are enabled also. Not I'm saying arbitrary. When T1 and T8 fire, the parts of the message are further divided into two parts. Okay, first half message and second half message from P1. Then T8 again divide the first half of the message into two. T1 divides the second half of the message into two, right? So thus the original message is now divided into four parts, right? Okay. Now without loss of generality, we can assume that a positive token always represents the first half of the message. Okay. So as the message transmission continues, see, the positive token moves on the positive path. So positive path means P8, then T9, then P9, then T10, and goes up to P10, right? And finally it reaches the destination, which is your place P10. Similarly, the negative token, which is the second half of the first part of the message. यहाँ पर क्या है? This is first half, this is second half. Then at T2, the this positive means the first half of the message, first part of the first half of the message, and this is the second half of the first part of the message. And similarly for the negative also, right? So similarly, the negative token, which is the second half of the first part of the message, moves on the path P6, T6, P7, T7, and finally reaches to the destination, which is P8. Right? So in a similar fashion, the other half of the original message, which was further divided into two parts by the transition this T1, okay, reaches the destination P10. Okay, so this way we move our message by dividing into four parts and transmitting these parts through different routes, right? Which makes it difficult for anyone to access the whole message simultaneously. So thereby making it secure. Okay. Now the model can be modified to divide the message into more parts so as to increase the level of the secureness by dividing the message further. Okay. So this is one example of one application of sign Petrinet. Another is product unit. Okay. So we consider a product unit which produces and packages a product, right? And the product is produced by first creating its part, which are 6 in number. So the product is first created in parts, which is 6 in numbers separately. Okay. Now, and then assembling them together to get the final product in the assembling unit. Okay. We have 6 parts of the product in the product unit, production unit, and then we have assembling unit where the 6 parts are assembled together. Now see the figure. Now, the parts which are heavier than a prescribed weight of W units are represented by positive token and the remaining parts via negative. See, the heavier parts moves on the positive path because they are represented by positive token, and the negative path through which the lighter parts are transported. See, here at P1, we have what you have 6 parts, right? 6 parts. And these 2 parts are heavier than a prescribed weight, that is W. So they are represented by filled circle, that is positive token, and 4 parts are below the W unit. Okay, so it is by negative token, right? So the product are produced at this place, say P1. Now we assume that the parts which are heavier than the W, they are 2 in number, and which are less than W, they are 4 in number. Okay, so the heavier part move on which path, because heavier part will be from P1 with positive root par chalega, that is P1, then it go to T2, then it goes to P3. I'm not doing it arbitrary, please. Not because there's an arc, no. By enabling and firing rule, I'm saying all these things you can verify. Because this T2 is enabled because the number of arcs from P1 to T2 is 1, which is less than or equal to the number of positive token, which is 2. So T2 is enabled. So after firing of T2, P3 will receive the token and so on. So T4 will be enabled. Okay, and so on. So the move along the path P1, T2, P3, then T4, and then P4, which is suitable for transporting heavier parts. Rather than the path P1, then T1, then P2, then T3, then P4, through which lighter parts are transported because of enabling and firing rule. So all the transitions in SPN represents an event of transfer of token. That means transfer of part from one place to another place. Token means parts from one place to another place. Okay, now see, the place P2, the place P2 and P3, they are the test unit, right? Which checks the working of the part. If part is working correctly, right, it passes the test unit is here. If it is working correctly, it passes the test and moves to the assembling unit. See, if you have some token here in P2 that is in test unit and it passes the test, then T3 is enabled and it goes to assembly unit, which is P4. Similarly, for positive token, the test unit is P3. So if a particular part clears the test and it goes to, then T4 will be enabled and goes to the assembling unit, right? So the places P2 and P3, they are the test unit which checks the working of part, right? Now, if part is working correctly, it passes the test and moves to the assembling unit via the transition T3 or the transition T4. If you have negative token, via T3. If you have positive part, via T4. Okay. And if the part turns out to be suppose defective, it is rejected. Suppose a test unit, it is rejected. Then T3 is not enabled. Rejecting transition is this transition, which is T6 for negative part. And rejecting transition is T7 for positive part. Positive part means heavier part and negative part means lighter part. If it is rejected, then and move to the P6, this place, which is the place rejected by the firing of which transition? T6 or T7, right? So whenever a part moves to the assembling unit here or it is rejected, the production of the part should start again. If it reaches to assembling unit, तो नया product भी चाहिए. Okay, so production should start again, or if part is rejected, then also production should start again. Hence, we add the arc. See, if you add the arc, where it is? Yeah, T3 and then P1. We have added this arc. And similarly here from T4, if it is okay, as going to assembling unit, then one token from, if it is enabled, if it fires, then P1 is also an output place and P4 is also an output place, receive one token. So again, one part is here. Means again it will start the process again. And similarly for this transition also, right? So if none of the 6 part is rejected, okay, if every part clear the test, means none of the 6 parts are rejected, the final product is assembled at the place P4, assembling unit, right? And we represent the final product by a token, whose sign is the product of sign of all the tokens representing the parts of the product. What does it mean? It means through negative arcs, we'll have some negative token here. Through positive arcs, we have some positive token here, right? So we have some positive and some negative token here. So you can find the sign of this particular places by doing the product of negative and positive sign of the token, right? So sign is the product of sign of all the tokens representing the parts of the product. So this final product is then moved to the place P5 by firing of the transition T5 for packaging, right? And it should be noted here that the sign of the arc P4 T5 and T5 P5, these two arcs is the same as the sign of the token representing the final product. If the sign of the token here is positive, then these two arcs are of positive sign because positive token moves on positive and negative through negative, right? So this is the same sign of the token representing the final product. Okay. So these are the advantages of SPN. The presence of two types of token in SPN, positive and negative, which are distinguishable, right? In Petrinet, we don't have such concept, right? Ability to assign sign to verses of SPN, which is further utilized to introduce the concept of balanced SPN, Now, in comparison to a signed graph, an SPN is advantageous since a single SPN can be used to represent various signed graphs by simply varying the marking of SPN due to firing of a sequence. Okay? And we need to analyze one SPN in order to infer about all possible signed graph structures that can be formed for a fixed number of vertices. Okay. Just wait for a minute, please. Sorry, there is some disturbance in connectivity. So so am I audible?
Yes, ma'am, you are audible now.
But I don't know what happened to my slide.
Ma'am, it is visible.
It is visible, but I'm not able to slide my slides. Next slide. There's some problem. Just wait. Actually, in my society where I live now, there's some problem is going on. So I think something. Anyway, almost I've finished all the things. Just wait. Actually, some repairing work is going on, so that is why we are facing problem here. Yes.
Yes, working.
So all we have done. Yes. And now similarly, as in the case of PetriNet, we talk about the reachability tree. Here also we can find out the reachability tree. And these are the analysis techniques. One is reachability tree and the next is matrix equation. And here we have the reachability tree means positive tokens as well as positive marking as well as negative marking. So see, suppose you have this SPN and this is the initial marking. So first component means first ordered pair, first part of this ordered pair is positive movement and the second is negative. So see, this is the complete, first one is the complete reachability tree. And the second word is tree corresponding to positive marking. And the third is corresponding to the negative marking. So we can analyze by using these techniques, boundedness, similar as in the case of PetriNet. Seeing the reachability tree, we see the corresponding SPN is safe or not. Conservation, you can add all the components, so you can say whether it is conservative or not. And then liveness also, if all the transitions appear in the reachability trees, so we can conclude that SPN is live, otherwise it is not live. And here also metrics, by using matrix equation, we can analyze the PetriNet, right? And just in case, see, this is nothing but here you have written mu1 plus is equal to mu plus and so on. Here we have taken mu1 as 1 cross n matrix, right? And similarly, I minus, I plus, they are considered as them in the matrix form, P cross T matrix. So we'll get the matrix form of the firing and enabling rule. Okay. And these are the some theorems. If anybody is interested in theorems and their proof, I can provide. And again, we have one restaurant model we can use by using SPN. And if you want to see this model, this is the model. And this is the modeling by using SPN. And I think my time is over. So I'll stop here only. I think this is the, so analysis of restaurant model. By seeing the restaurant model, we can check whether it is bounded or conservative or live or right. So in this way, we can use SPN.
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay.
Your session is very knowledgeable. Any
Thank you.
participants, you can ask any question if you want about the topic. Any query?
You can write on the chat box.
You can write on the chat box also. I think there is no query, ma'am.
Okay, okay.
Now I would like to request Professor Rajiv Kumar, coordinator of this FDP, to welcome to vote of thanks. Over to you, sir.
Thank you very much, Professor Sangeeta Kansal. We are very thankful for this wonderful session from your side. Very well explained about Petri nets and graph theory, and you have very well covered the different examples of Petri net, and in fact you have also taken a real example of the change of season. So consider various aspects regarding reachability set, behavior set, property of Petri nets, boundedness. The area of this Petri net, I am not, but I can understand whatever you have explained here very well. It is interesting, and I feel that I should work in this area also, because that reachability set and with tree you have taken, so that was very interesting. Also, the behavior property and application of SPN to message transmission and production unit is a worth for all engineering systems, and I hope
Yes.
all the participants who are on the board, they might have taken note of this thing, that how this thing can be applied to different engineering and technological systems. And I hope they have got a lot out of your knowledgeable sharing. So thank you very much for sparing your valuable time. In fact, I requested you and to have a talk to our participant, and you prepared the slides very well, and worth to explain all the things, because other participants were taking in different area. My aim was to cover those area also which are having gaps. So you agreed to our request and deliberated very well. and my organizing secretary is also of this area. She is also finding and noting the things of their interest along with all his students, her students. So this is a nice sir, nice madam, and I hope all the participant has got it. Thank you very much. I once again, from behalf of the Department of Mathematics and Maharshi Dana University Rohtak, I thank you from the core of my heart, and I'm really grateful that you have spared valuable time for us and for the participant also. Thank you very much, madam.
Thank you,
And
sir,
now,
for inviting me. And sorry, I could not start my video because of the weak connectivity
I
here.
see.
Some
Okay,
problem
okay.
is there in my society, so I could not
Acha, acha.
start the video.
Okay, even at the constraint being their network down there in your society, you still
By
continue with
chance,
that, and uh, all is well. I think we found everything okay. Only the few time it is a little bit down network, but otherwise it is
yeah.
all well. So it was
Okay,
quite a wonderful and informative session. Thank you, madam, for sparing this time for us. I thank all the participants who's on the board, and they are having video on. Especially, I thankful to them. And the rest of them may not be there on the board or may not having such facility to get video on, because you see, we feel live. Once the videos are on, we can see smiling faces and can see each other. Maybe after a year or so, when this corona pandemic is over, we met somewhere and we cannot recognize each other. That we have
yes.
attended together a 5-day FDP. But once the videos are on, I think I can recognize. Definitely, I can recognize those one who are having their video on all the time. I can remember their name also. But the rest of the participant who has never on their videos, I cannot recognize them. And I think the same fate will be the you also, you people also. So I'm really sorry that they are not keeping their video on, but it is a requirement of AICT, and we need to have the pics of screenshots of these things. But it is hard to say that we have to request once again and all the time. Anyways, thank you for joining the sessions all together for 4 days. And today we are winding up this day also with 3 sessions. In the morning, Professor Jagdish Prasad has taken care of data analysis and given various application of statistics tools and concepts of design of experiment in engineering and technology. The second session, of course, I have taken care, and that was regarding statistical techniques in engineering and technologies. I have taken some examples how the stochastic modeling technique can be applied to different engineering and technological systems. And this is the last session, post-lunch session, was regarding patinate and graph theory, wonderfully explained by ma'am. We had tried to cover the areas of all mathematics, advanced mathematics that can be there for the participant, so that in future they can get trained to teach as well as get research done in this area. Hopefully, this is all fruitful to all of the participants, and patiently listening the things and bearing with us with some network issues when here it is there. But thank you for all the participants, and we ended almost the 80% of the FDP. Tomorrow is the last day, and in the morning session there will be, of course, a technical session, and afterward, post lunch, there will be a test circulated to you regarding this FDP. One more feedback form is also will be shared with you, and thereafter at 3:30 there will be a validity ceremony of this program, and a very renowned engineer and mathematician and statistician from USA, Professor Amit Mitra will be the chief guest of this validity ceremony. Professor Rajiv Kansal from AICT member secretary will be the guest of honor, and Professor Gulshan Taneja, registrar of our university, will also be there as a guest of honor. So this will be a nice time. Of course, we have all the 4 days and tomorrow also. So thank you, all the participants. Keep always face smiling, video on, and we ask questions and queries whatever you have, because our part will be over. Then online test is for you. You have to answer those questions, and keep in mind you have to score at least 60% marks to acquire the certificate from AICTE. It is not in my hand. Otherwise, I have given to each and everyone. But this is a requirement, and we have to upload the test and thereafter your marks also. So I think you will be all successful to get a certificate from AICTE for all your future promotions, of course, apart from training and learning. Thank you very much for joining over here and bearing with all network issues, and kindly keep at least on the last day video on so that we can recognize each other. Thank you very much. Have a good day.
Sir, I have a question. Sir, I have a
welcome.
question.
Welcome,
Sir,
ma'am.
what is the mode of this test, online test? Is it subjective or objective?
It will be total MCQ, because subjective is not possible right now, because it won't be possible to check from our side also. So we have
Okay.
prepared MCQs that will be shared through Google Sheet. You have
Yes,
to
yes.
answer those questions, and the same time we will get the answer. We will, of course, I have checked it. We will not provide you any answer key. However, we cross check it, and whatever the result you will be having, we will upload to the Atal site. So anything else? Question will cover from all sessions.
Thank you very much.
Whatever-
Congratulations.
The question is from all the sessions. Timing for 1 hour. So
Okay.
it is
And
a
what is the
tentative
time
2:30.
duration?
2:30 it will be shared to you at validity time, and during that
1
time
hour.
you
Okay.
have
Thank
to
you very much.
answer that sheet. Okay, because in online sometimes network issues are there. So keeping that in mind, in fact it is just a 25 question to answer, but we will give you the sufficient time for the same. So that is all about that online test. We will also share with you the feedback per forma online Google Sheet. You have to give the feedback of each and every session with the just ranking on the ranking scale, and all about the FDP, so that that can be uploaded to the Atal site, and we also will judge about our performance by your feedbacks. So thank you. Any other one? I just connected to you. Many of you are new faces I can see right now. You might have joined, but now I can see your faces, and that is Nithya Ji. I can see her. Can you give something input about this FDP? How you find it, Nithya?
Yes, sir, it's very useful, sir, for further research and
Okay. So you are from?
sir,
You are
I'm from Chennai. I'm from Chennai. Anna University.
Chennai. Okay, okay. So another one, any other who can say a few words? Manoj Kumar. Mr. Manoj Kumar ji. Yes. Parvjot Kaur is there. Kindly unmute your mic and can share some words if you like. Anything
Sure,
positive,
sure.
negative,
Sorry,
whatever you
sorry.
like.
I was speaking and I forgot to unmute myself.
Okay.
It was a wonderful session. It was something new for me. Means I never went through these things, but I found it
Okay.
really interesting.
Okay, right. Thank you.
It is a
In
good
fact,
one.
I want to share with you that Atal first time has taken such a topic. In fact, I can say that so far, whatever FDP has been taken place by AICTE, the mathematics department and mathematics topics are taken first time. That was apprised to me by the Atal. We have 2 FDPs. This was for this span 18 to 22nd of October. Next we have on December 22nd onward. December 22nd is the National Mathematics Day also. On that day, we are inaugurating another program, that will be, if someone of you may interested, you can register there. Still some seats are vacant. And if somebody else is interested, you can also share with them. So this is the first time that the mathematics have been considered, department is considered and have been allotted to the mathematics department. So we are fortunate enough to have this deliberations from our part. So we have given, you see, in fact, our department is a department of interdisciplinary nature. We have mathematics people in our faculty, statistics and computer science persons. So this in fact is a mathematical sciences whole cover we are covering. That's why we are able to manage all the topics related to the engineering and technology that lead to the advancements in
Actually,
these techniques. Yes, please.
Actually, I really wanted to give a feedback about the start session that you took in the lunch time.
Okay.
After the lunch, it was a good one. I am teaching MBA students the testing procedures these days. It was quite helpful to me, so I could find the answers of few of my questions because I am teaching this stats. I'm not from stats background. I'm from pure maths background. But I'm teaching stats since last 3 years. So I had few doubts. So I could clear a few doubts. I was thinking, okay, I should contact sir in some other times so I can get the answers of other questions also. It was quite informative session.
Anyway, you can ask question anytime. Most welcome. I will share my mobile number as well as the email ID. You are most welcome.
Sure.
You see, my area of specialization is statistical estimation and inference. I have done my PhD and publication in this area. So anyone of you, not only you, but I will request all the participants, if someone is interested for testing, someone is interested for estimation or stochastic modeling, they are all welcome anytime. So that is the purpose of FDP, that we get trained and we learn, and we can share our knowledge with each other also. So that is the purpose of this FDP, and Atal has, of course, selected us for this purpose, and we will do in future also. So thank you. Anyone else who is there? I can see Tulsi Seth is there. I hope she is from Gujarat. Yeah, I'm audible. Yes, Amol More. Yeah. Yesterday we had talked with Ashwin Chauhan. Yeah, Krishna Kumari. I hope she is from Tamil Nadu. Dr. Krishna Kumari. Yes. I'm not audible. Yes, I can see serial number 24. S. Saranavan. Kindly unmute yourself, sir.
Yes,
I can
sir.
see your face.
Yes,
Looking
sir.
smart.
Thank you, sir.